Welcome to Inside Infidelity Stories. Dive into the emotional journeys, secret betrayals, and shocking revelations that unfold behind closed doors. My name is Vanessa, and I'm 30 years old. I've been married to Brian for 5 years. Just look at us. Everything in our life seems perfect. We have a house in the suburbs and so much in common. But everything changed when Brian's nephew Larry came to stay with us for a while. It all started when Brian asked me to pick up Larry from the bus station because he would still be at work. I arrived and waited in the main lobby. When I saw Larry, my heart began racing. He was so handsome, tall, and muscular. He looked the complete opposite of Brian. We greeted each other, and I realized that he had all the qualities that aroused me. We hopped in my car, and as we rode home, he told me about his work as a travel blogger. He was just recently in Japan, and I listened to everything he told me eagerly. It was so nice to hear about something different for a change. That night, as the three of us ate dinner, Brian told his usual work stories. I was so used to hearing them, I barely listened. Everything was so routine with him. My mind was on Larry. We were sitting across from each other, and every now and then, our eyes met, which caused excitement throughout my body. After dinner, Brian suggested we play a game of cards, but I turned him down and went to bed. Lying there, I tried to understand my new emotions. I knew it was wrong to feel this way about Larry, but I couldn't help but wonder what would happen if I gave in to this attraction. After a few days, I started noticing that Larry was showing interest in me. It was things like him sneaking looks at me and his hand accidentally touching mine when we were around each other. My connection with Brian had become more of a habit, but everything with Larry was fresh, new, and exciting. Things with him made me feel things I haven't felt in a long time, that I thought I'd forgotten. One evening while Brian was working late, Larry suggested that the two of us play pool together. I let him know that was more of Brian's thing with his friends, and I had never learned. Larry offered to teach me, and I agreed. We went in the game room, and he went first, explaining everything. When it was my turn, I wasn't angled right, so Larry got behind me and gently held onto my waist to show me the right way. Then he held my arms and showed me how to position the pool stick. Every part of my body tingled. All kinds of emotions were sparked within me. We were so close that I could feel his breath when he spoke to me. My heart began beating faster. After my turn was over, I faced him and we locked eyes with each other. I knew I could no longer resist the attraction I felt for him. Larry leaned in and I did the same. My lips met his first, and it was like a spark turning into a fire. That kiss was the start of something new. Even though it was wrong, I just couldn't help myself. This moment was so special, even though I knew it was forbidden. Days later, I was still thinking about the kiss. I couldn't get it out of my head. I also noticed that our flirting became more intense. My urges grew stronger every time I looked at him. One evening, Larry asked me if I would like to take a walk with him. I agreed. I felt the fresh air would do me some good. We talked about all sorts of things, from stories of his work travels to things both of us were interested in. I just couldn't resist the sound of his deep voice and how physically attractive he was. As we walked more, we came across a bench, and Larry suggested that we sit down. We did, and as we sat side by side, I could feel the warmth of his body. It made me have that familiar desire again. "Do you ever get tired of the same routine day after day?" Larry asked. "Yes," I replied. "Sometimes I feel like I'm just at a standstill." "Well, you have to take risks to make changes in your life," he said. I turned around, understanding exactly what he meant, and our eyes locked on each other once again. I saw the same excitement that I had, written all over his face. He leaned in for a kiss, and I couldn't resist doing the same. This kiss was so passionate that I just could not pull away. But when it did end, it was like I had forgotten about everything else. When we returned home, we had to put on a good front like nothing had happened, because Brian was back from work. It was tough, but some kind of way, we pulled it off. The days after were filled with flirty moments while my husband wasn't looking. Every now and then, we found time to ourselves, and I looked forward to each kiss. Every kiss and every touch left me wanting more and more. One evening, while Brian was working late again, Larry wanted to show me how to make an old family recipe for dinner instead of getting takeout. We headed to the kitchen, and everything we did was filled with romantic moments. From his hands around my waist while I was mixing, to leaning over me and helping me roll out the dough. Then he looked at me and said, "I know what we're doing is wrong, but I just can't help myself." "Me neither," I replied. We gazed into each other's eyes for a moment, and then we started moving closer to each other. It was like a magnet pulling us together. After that, we both went in for another forbidden kiss. The next morning, Brian had to go out and take care of some business. He asked me if I wanted to come with him, but I told him that I would stay home. He said okay and gave me a kiss before he left. I just wanted to sit back and think about all the romantic moments I'd had with Larry. After a little while, I decided I wanted to take a refreshing shower. I grabbed my favorite vanilla body wash and headed to the bathroom. During my shower, more memories of my secret moments with Larry went through my mind. I just couldn't get him out of my head. While I was in deep thought about everything, I was startled by the bathroom door opening. I froze. Who could it be? I didn't know what to expect. Then a hand reached and pulled the shower curtain open. It was Larry. He scanned every inch of me with his eyes, admiring my body. "Oh my goodness, you scared me," I said. "What are you doing here?" "It's just, I heard you in here taking a shower, so I had to come in," he replied. While he was talking, he never took his eyes off of my body. I saw excitement all over his face, and I knew I couldn't resist my urges. He got in the shower with me, put his hands around my waist, and pulled me in for an intense kiss. I could feel fireworks with this kiss. It was like an explosion of emotions. I wrapped my arms around him and he pulled me closer. He put me up against the wall and touched every part of my body. Right then and there is when everything else happened. Our bodies moved in sync, and it was like nothing else mattered. I had forgotten about Brian, where I was, everything. This moment was all that was on my mind. All of this that happened made me realize it wasn't only physical. We had a deep connection, and I didn't regret it one bit. After a few days passed, I still couldn't think of anything else but that morning in the shower. I tried to act as normal as I possibly could, but I couldn't get that moment out of my head. Brian had a big project come up at work, so he wasn't home a lot. This meant I could spend more time with Larry. But one morning, he didn't leave as early as usual. He didn't seem like himself. It seemed as if something was really bothering him. I tried talking to him, but he ignored me. I didn't want to irritate him by asking him what was wrong over and over, so I left him alone. But not too long later, he confronted me. "Why is there a message on your phone from Larry asking if you saw the gift he left for you in the bathroom and that he can't stop thinking about what happened in there?" I had no clue what he was talking about. Then he motioned for me to come to the bathroom. Once we were in there, he opened the cabinet under the sink, and I saw a giant bottle of fancy bubble bath sitting there. I knew that meant Larry wanted to take a bath with me next time. "That's the only thing there that wasn't there before," Brian said. "Now I want to know, what happened between you two in this bathroom?" His face and voice were full of anger. At first, I couldn't speak, so I just stared at him. Then he said, "You need to tell me what's going on. I want to know the truth." If I told him the truth, I knew our marriage would be over. I felt like I was just going to bust out and cry, but I held it in. "We just got a little caught up in the moment," I said. "It's not anything to worry about." But Brian cut me off right there. "Like I'm supposed to believe that. You're lying right to my face," he hollered. "I'm going to get to the bottom of this and find out what happened," Brian said. Then he walked away, and I just cried my eyes out. I went to the room that Larry was staying in and told him that Brian knew something had happened between us. Larry let me know that even though he knew Brian would be watching us like a hawk, he still didn't want to lose me. "We'll just have to be extra careful," he said. I agreed. I was way too attracted to him to stop everything altogether. Being around him in the house made it hard not to give in to temptation, but I kept my composure until we met at a special spot we both had agreed on, down by the river on the other side of town. He was already there, sitting on the bench waiting for me one evening. I walked over and sat down next to him. He gave me a smile that made my whole body tingle and reached out to hold my hand. "I'm glad we found a spot where no one will find us," Larry said. "We don't have to worry about anything," I said. I was so happy. He leaned in for a kiss and my lips met his. As the kiss ended, I got a strange feeling that we were being watched. And I was right. I met eyes with Brian, who was standing there watching from a distance. He had followed us to the river and we didn't even know it. While Larry and I were in our own little world, Brian had seen everything. He stood there with a look of rage on his face, like he wanted to attack the both of us. I sat there in shock, knowing that my world was crumbling down. "Vanessa, Larry," he hollered. "How could you two do this to me? What were you thinking?" Larry stood up and asked for a chance to explain, but Brian wasn't hearing it. "There's nothing for you to explain. The proof is right in my face," Brian said. "Now get home and pack up your belongings, because you're both moving out. You want to be together so bad? Well, now you can. I want you out." I froze. "But Brian," I began. But he didn't want to hear it. We headed home and packed up our things. Each of us also gave Brian our keys. He slammed the door shut behind us and locked it. That was the end, and I knew there was nothing I could do or say to make Brian forgive me. Larry and I found a cheap motel and stayed there for a little bit until we found a place to rent. It was a small townhouse that wasn't in the best area, but the rent was cheap. I could see why. Other than the area it was in, the place was in poor condition, but it would have to do for now. Also, I had to get a job to help out with the bills. That was a really new adjustment for me, because when I was with Brian, I didn't have to worry about working. He made more than enough money, and I didn't have to worry about anything. Each day was rough, and one day, when I returned home from work, I just broke down and cried. "Why did things have to turn out this way?" I said. Larry wrapped his arms around me and reassured me that everything would be okay. It was just so hard, going from living in luxury to living like this. But with Larry's support and compassion, I kept going. But after a while, I started noticing that something had changed with Larry. He wasn't the same affectionate and considerate person he was before. He was becoming more and more distant from me. Our relationship, that was once hot and exciting, was now fading and becoming non-existent. I was afraid that if we didn't work things out, I would end up by myself. The only problem was, I was afraid to confront him about it. I thought that if I said something about his attitude, he would get angry and storm out. I felt stuck. When I came home from work one day, I looked around to see where Larry was. When I peeped in the bedroom, I saw his suitcase and luggage. He was packing up his belongings. I felt like I was about to pass out, but I tried not to panic. "Why are you packing your things?" I asked. "Are you leaving for another trip?" He stopped what he was doing and looked around at me. He didn't have the same sympathetic look in his eyes like he always had before. Then, he told me he really needed to talk to me. "Vanessa, I just can't keep doing this," he said. "Doing what?" I asked. "Being in this situation," he continued. "I never expected to be in this situation for this long. I only thought we would be with each other for the duration of my visit." I tried to figure out what to say, but I couldn't think of anything. Then after a few moments of getting over the shock of what he said, I thought of what to say. "So everything that happened between us meant nothing to you?" My eyes began to feel hot, and tears came running down my face. "How could you do this?" He avoided eye contact with me and said, I really care about you, but I didn't plan on having a future with you. I can't stay here and act like that's what's going to happen, because I know that's not what I really want. I never meant to ruin things between you and Brian. I felt like I was going to have a panic attack. Everything in my life had fallen apart. I gave up everything for this relationship, and now I had to find out it was all meaningless. What am I supposed to do now? I asked. I don't know, he replied. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're strong. You'll be okay. And with that, he zipped up his suitcase and luggage and went out the door, leaving me all alone. On top of that, I was served with divorce papers. Every part of my body felt weak after this horrific afternoon. I had lost everything, and I didn't know how I was going to get through this. All I could do was curl up in the chair and cry. I knew this was my punishment for my infidelity, and I had to find a way to start over. As time passed, I adjusted to my new life. Every now and then, I would think of the mistakes I made, but overall, I tried to leave that in the past. I eventually saved up enough money and moved to a nicer area in a new town. It was nice to have a fresh start. I got a new job, started going to group activities, and made new friends. Rebuilding my life was hard, and doing it alone made it even more of a challenge, but I didn't give up. Eventually, I received an official divorce document in the mail. It was painful, but being on my own made me a lot stronger. Also, I never heard from Larry again. I knew I had to accept his decision to never reach out again and move forward. No matter what, life goes on, and I couldn't wait to see what opportunities were waiting for me.